course, in a short while, we shall be just taking you through some of those figures in relation to this question. How have you been affected by the high cost of living in the country? That is our Twitter poll question this afternoon. You can tweet us at KT News. You can tweet me at Aginabi. Remember, the hashtag is KTN Business. Well, of course, Steve Biko is with us here to also just give us some more perspective into this, as well as discussing a host of other issues in a short while. I don't know if we have some of the tweets, Diana. Well, we shall be having them in a short while, and let's dive into that conversation right now. Many thanks, Biko.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, inflation up by 4.28%, and at the end of the day, Kenyans have already been sagging under really tough times economically, where we had the bad weather last year coming into a time where you're seeing the cost of fuel also going up.
The overall picture of cost of living in the basic aspect of what a human being needs, accommodation, health, food, is actually very high and has gone up. Just listening to the central bank governor's optimism about the economy makes me want to cry, because I think a lot of PR instead of actually telling the Kenyans the truth, so you can be able to actually address the issues that we are facing as a country. Because right now as we speak, food has actually become very expensive. I doubt majority of Kenyans can afford 3 meals a day. Most of us are going for one whole meal in the evening. In the morning you wake up and you're trying to figure out how you're going to be able to survive through the day.
All right. So really, as much as CBK is optimistic on one hand that a good weather, tourism is also doing well in the country, at the end of the day, what does this mean to the mwananchi down there who has to pay for rent, who has to pay for transportation? Are we looking at tougher times ahead, or a mixed kind of bag?
There's a disconnect between the numbers are being given by government agencies in terms of how the macroeconomic aspect of the economy is doing and the reality on the ground. And that disconnect is what actually should be of concern, because we don't really know what's happening in the doldrums. One, inflation is up. It's been going up since April. And when inflation goes up, it basically means a whole assortment of things actually going up. So let me start with fuel. Petrol has gone up, diesel has gone up, kerosene has purposely gone up, so that the government is trying to ensure that majority of Kenyans stop using kerosene and we go to gas or other means of clean energy because of adulterated diesel. But this is not the issue, because 78% of Kenyans actually depend on kerosene. So when you make it difficult for them to be able to access this, many of them can't be able to light up, many of them can't be able to cook, many of them can't be able to just run the basic aspects. When you look at our cost of transportation, in as much as diesel didn't go up as high as petrol, moving goods from the farms to the market is actually a big problem. We see that this Kenya, are in Chwele, in Bungoma and Karatina, and moving fresh produce from these markets to Nairobi, to Mombasa and other aspects of the country is actually very expensive. Cost of one banana has gone up, cost of a tomato has gone up, cost of potatoes has gone up, cost of ndengu has gone up. Maize is the only one that's actually retailing at a low price because of the short rains we've been able to receive, and those we're able to do farming in like, for example, those of us doing farming in Western, we're able to do farming in late January, early February, and April, where we did the 3 months kind of maize growth, where they mature in 3 months. So maize is actually available in the market, especially the fresh ones, and now we're going to the harvest season. So when you look at the overall aspect, ugali is actually a bit affordable, and it's not because we're buying the unga from the shops, it's because of subsistence farming. But there's going to be a bigger problem, because at the end of the day, the effects of last year are actually going to be felt now. And now I think the rains that the Met department are actually talking about are over. We're in the cold season, and I don't think we're going to get any more rains maybe until December. And this is going to be actually very difficult for farmers, because farmers in the North Rift and Western Kenya complained about poor seeds and poor fertilizer. So I believe there's going to be a significant drop in the harvest overall. And when you look at now electricity, the Ministry of Energy was actually very clever in terms of looking at to appease the mood of Kenyans in terms of power. And power has gone up 4 times for the basic ordinary consumer. The big spenders, the industrial aspect, the manufacturers have actually been able to get a reprieve. But for us, the basic person, for me now I'm going to spend 500 shillings every 2 days on power. And I'm basically running basic lights, TV, and maybe a fridge. If I'm running...
But this is contrary to what we've seen, where the tariffs were revised and consumers are set to pay cheaper, actually beginning August.
Truth is, and I do not want to sound condensing to journalists or anything, but I think what journalists need to do is basically do basic analysis. Buy the electricity yourself, compare to the previous 3-4 times you've been able to buy. What they've been able to remove is the basic transaction, the standard, the fixed charge,
cost charge,
150. Then they've been able to move around else, diesel, maintenance, taxes. They're constant. When you look at the cost, it's actually 4 times higher. And the problem as to why we've been able to, we don't know what's happened is because we're doing too much PR. We should be able to tell Kenyans the truth, that power has gone up, and the Minister of Energy should be able to say, we're trying to fix the problem. It might not be easy to fix it, but instead of them telling us, because we've removed the standard, because some of us who buy electricity in bulk, maybe I spend 5,000 and I'm able to use it for 2-3 months. When I come back again, when I'm spending the same amount, I get less because of fixed charge. And for me, for an ordinary Kenyan, they might think the 150 is a good reprieve, but in essence, they've been able to just move around the same things, and we've not addressed the issue of the independent power producers. Diesel is actually a key issue. And we have the Lake Turkana wind project lying idle. And if the grid was actually connected, then we will be able to talk about sustainable, affordable power. This is not. So in overall, transportation, energy are to make cost of living higher. Healthcare is actually a big problem. We've seen Kenyatta, the National Referral Hospital, actually increasing costs. I think, if I'm not wrong, in the last 2 weeks, costs have gone up by at least 400 shillings per every aspect of treatment you're going to get. This is actually becoming very expensive. When you look at Kiambu County, which is actually peripheral and important to the economy of Kenya, healthcare for them, the system's actually suffering because of the strain. So in terms of healthcare, in terms of food, in terms of transportation, cost of living is actually going to go higher. And then I know kids being at home, the impact of this will actually be felt when we get into fourth quarter, September, October, December. And just listen to the central bank governor. Yes, the macroeconomic aspect of the economy, selected sectors can go up. For example, tourism. When we see tourism, I want us to see hitting 1 million visitors, not from Asia, but from Europe, for example, or from Africa. Because for me, I have a big question, because at the end of the day, there have been stories in the media about the Chinese, the numbers increasing. I did a research survey in Kikombe, I saw a lot of Chinese doing things. So are we getting...
to talk about, really.
There's a lot to talk about, actually.
And of course, as you say, for now,